Chosen one. Heaven itself paused when you finally said yes. Do you even realize the magnitude of this moment? The angels have been holding their breath, waiting for your obedience. Every hesitation, every delay, every moment you wondered if you could survive, heaven recorded it all. And now, because you obeyed, there is a celebration echoing in the courts of eternity. The silence of heaven was not indifference. It was anticipation, like a great orchestra awaiting its conductor's signal. All creation leaned forward, waiting for this instant. Your decision has become the sound that set heaven into motion, and that sound is still echoing in realms unseen, shaking what must be shaken. You are not ordinary. You were never designed to blend in with the crowd. That's why life has felt so heavy, so different, so relentless. The enemy tried to bury you beneath lies, confusion, and endless discouragement, because he knew what your obedience would unlock. He knew one act of surrender from you could shake nations. And today, that is exactly what happened. When you said yes, chains fell in places you could not see. Your obedience touched not only your own destiny, but it ignited freedom for others bound in silence. Somewhere, someone will live because you obeyed. Somewhere, someone will believe because you obeyed. And heaven has written this moment as a victory in its eternal records. Listen carefully. Your yes is not small. It is not weak. It is thunderous in the spirit. The heavens are ringing with joy. Because you did what many refused to do. You obeyed the whisper of God. It was proclaimed in the second letter to Timothy, chapter 1, verse 7. For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. Do you see it? That verse has always been about you. Through every valley, through every shadow, you carried the light inside of you. The enemy tried to extinguish it, but obedience caused your flame to blaze brighter. And now, your light is no longer hidden. It is revealed, shining for all to see. Heaven applauded because what was once concealed is now set high, visible, undeniable. Beloved, the valley was necessary. Every tear shaped you. Every sleepless night refined your spirit. And yet, you were not abandoned. You were guided, protected, and carried even when you felt alone. That's why this celebration is not just about your obedience today, it is about your survival through the valley that tried to destroy you. Your life is proof that the shepherd does not abandon his chosen ones. You are proof that light can endure the deepest shadows. You are proof that obedience is stronger than fear. Do not underestimate what just shifted. The very atmosphere around you has changed. Angels have been released on assignment because of your yes. Demons that once tormented you have been scattered. Generational curses are trembling because your obedience has broken the cycle. And now, chosen one, you step into a season where heaven backs every step you take. You are not moving in your strength. You are moving in divine strength. Doors that were once sealed shut are opening. Roads that were hidden are being revealed. Your yes has become a key in the hand of God. Do not keep this moment to yourself. Heaven's celebration is not a silent one. It is an announcement. And just as angels announce what God is doing, so must you. Share this testimony. Declare this truth. Let the world know that obedience unlocks heaven. Do not hide the light that has been placed inside of you. Right now, if this word burns inside your spirit, I call you to move. Let this message not pass by like so many others. Lift your voice in agreement. And if you feel the fire of God stirring within, then do what seals this moment in faith, like, share, and comment as a prophetic act. Let the enemy know you are unashamed. Let heaven see you mark this word with boldness. And if you have not yet subscribed, do so now, because this flow of divine instruction is not a one-time encounter. It is the stream of destiny calling you forward. At the edge of obedience, you stand in new light. The angels rejoice. The Father smiles, and the Spirit whispers, "Well done, my child." Heaven did not pause for nothing. It paused for you. So now, beloved chosen one, type this prophetic number in the comments to declare your obedience and alignment with heaven. 777. Chosen one. What you did not see in your moments of hesitation is this: the battles you fought in silence were not just against flesh and blood. You wrestled against principalities, against powers, against forces of darkness that tried to surround your destiny. Every sleepless night, every whisper of doubt, every unseen attack was a direct response to the greatness inside you. There were times when you thought the resistance meant you were weak, but it was the opposite. Resistance means value. No thief breaks into an empty house, and no enemy wages war against what has no worth. The war you felt pressing against your soul was a confirmation that you carried something precious, something that hell itself feared would be released. Beloved, the unseen battles were not random. They were carefully orchestrated assignments from darkness, designed to exhaust you before obedience could birth breakthrough. That constant feeling of heaviness was not just life being hard, it was spiritual warfare, an assault meant to convince you to stop. But you didn't stop. You endured. And in your endurance, you carried heaven's victory. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Isaiah. Chapter 54, verse 17. No weapon formed against you shall prosper. Every tongue rising against you in judgment you shall condemn. That word was written as your shield long before you knew the battle would come. Every dart, every whisper, every weapon forged against you was already marked for failure. The fact that you are here right now, still breathing, still listening, still holding on to faith, is the undeniable evidence that God's word has stood true in your life. You may have thought the sleepless nights would break you, but they trained you. You may have thought rejection would crush you, but it refined you. You may have thought loneliness would consume you, but it became the sacred space where you heard the whisper of God most clearly. Think back. Chosen one, those moments you almost gave up, when tears burned your face, when silence felt louder than thunder. Do you see now? That was not abandonment. That was the battlefield where your endurance was being forged. Heaven watched as you kept walking. Even when shadows tried to blind you, heaven watched as your faith refused to die. You were targeted because you are chosen. The warfare was fierce because your calling is great, and though you could not see it, angels were fighting alongside you. Their swords clashed against darkness as you prayed, as you whispered, "God help me," as you simply chose not to quit. Every step you took was a declaration of victory. Even when you didn't feel victorious, Beloved, understand this truth. Victory is not proven by how loud you shout, but by how long you endure. You stood, even when standing felt impossible. You survived nights when death whispered to you. You pressed forward when fear tried to paralyze you. That is what heaven celebrates, not perfection, but perseverance. And here is the secret the enemy never wanted you to know. Obedience is the weapon that defeats what warfare could not destroy. The moment you obeyed, the battles that raged around you lost their power. The strongholds that clung to your bloodline were shattered. What seemed like endless war suddenly turned into silence, because your obedience shifted the balance of power. You are not defined by what you fought. You are defined by the fact that you overcame. The scars you carry are not shame, they are evidence. They are testimonies etched into your spirit that tell the story of a God who never left you. A God who armed you with unseen strength. A God who declared before time began that your destiny would not be stolen. The unseen battles you fought were not wasted. They have become the very foundation of the authority you now carry. When you speak, darkness will tremble, because you speak as one who has survived the fire and not been consumed. When you walk, territories shift, because your footsteps have been trained on the battlegrounds of unseen wars. Chosen one, the world may never fully understand the battles you endured, but heaven knows every detail. And more importantly, heaven has rewarded your endurance with a mantle of victory. What you suffered in silence has prepared you to bring freedom to others who are still fighting. Your story is not just survival, it is deliverance in motion. So walk now, not as one who barely made it through, but as one who carries authority. The unseen battles you fought have marked you with unshakable resilience. You carry a strength that cannot be bought, a wisdom that cannot be learned in books, and a light that cannot be extinguished. All of this is the fruit of your endurance. Do not despise the battles that shaped you. They were never meant to destroy you. They were meant to reveal you. And now you stand as living proof that no weapon formed against you could prosper. No lie could silence you, and no force of darkness could erase your calling. Chosen one, every tear you have cried was not wasted. You may have thought no one noticed the nights you buried your face in your pillow, the days when you forced yourself to keep moving while your soul felt like it was breaking. But heaven noticed. Every tear was gathered. Every cry was recorded. Every silent ache was heard. Beloved, you must understand, tears are not weakness. They are prayers. Every drop that fell in the darkness was a wordless intercession, echoing before the throne of God. While you thought you were abandoned, heaven was receiving your tears as offerings of faith. You were not weeping alone. You were sowing seeds in the Spirit. Seeds that are now breaking the ground with a harvest. We are reminded through the writings of David in the Psalms. Chapter 56, verse 8. You have kept count of my tossings. Put my tears in your bottle. Are they not in your record? Do you see it? Even when you felt discarded, your tears were counted as treasures. Every restless night, every season of anguish, was remembered by the one who never forgets. Heaven does not overlook pain. Heaven redeems it. And now, because you finally obeyed, those tears that once seemed meaningless have turned into testimonies. Chosen one, think of this. Pain has always been the soil of purpose. Your tears watered the ground of your destiny. Your anguish softened the earth of your spirit, so the seed of obedience could finally take root. That is why heaven rejoices, not only because you said yes, but because you said yes after carrying so much weight. When others turned their tears into bitterness, you turned yours into surrender. When others used their pain as an excuse to rebel, you let yours bring you closer to God. And that is why heaven has celebrated you. You carried what many would have thrown away, and you turned it into worship. Every sigh was recorded. Every moment of silence when you could not even find words was holy. That is why your yes carries weight. Now it was born in the fire of suffering, not in the comfort of ease. You did not obey casually. You obeyed at a cost. And heaven does not ignore costly obedience. Heaven rewards it. So today, I challenge you, not just to hear this word, but to mark it. Declare with your own voice what heaven already knows about you. Write it, seal it, and make it visible. Right now, comment these words below. I endured. Oh, why those words? Because they are not just a declaration, they are an announcement. I endured means the tears did not break you. I endured means the valley did not swallow you. I endured means the darkness tried, but it failed. These two words are your banner, your proclamation, your prophetic stamp of survival. When you type it, you are not only agreeing with this message, you are proclaiming to the spiritual realm that your tears are no longer wounds, they are weapons. Every tear that once felt like loss has now become evidence of victory. By writing, I endured, you are testifying publicly that you are still standing, still chosen, still alive with purpose. Beloved, you endured nights that others could not have survived. You endured storms that should have drowned you. You endured battles that were meant to silence you forever. And yet, here you are, still breathing, still chosen, still marked by God's love. This endurance is not just your story, it is heaven's delight. And now, your endurance is being turned into acceleration. The time you thought was wasted in tears is being restored. The moments you thought were stolen are being repaid. Heaven's celebration over you is not just about obedience, but about the endurance that made obedience possible. Do not despise the tears you cried. They were your preparation. They gave you eyes to see what others overlook, a heart to feel what others ignore, and a spirit strong enough to carry weight that would break others. That is why heaven's joy is so loud. It is not celebrating empty obedience, but obedience forged in the fire of suffering. Chosen one, carry this truth into your spirit. Your tears have been transformed into oil. Oil that will anoint others. Oil that will heal the broken. Oil that will set captives free. What once felt like weakness has become your strength. What once felt like pain has become your power. And all of heaven celebrates because you finally obeyed. So remember this. Beloved, every tear was noticed. Every cry mattered. Every moment you thought was wasted has been redeemed. You endured. And now the story of your endurance is the song heaven sings over you. Chosen one. Obedience is never small. It is the doorway, the sacred key that shifts realms and unlocks what was hidden. From the beginning of time, obedience has always been the dividing line between bondage and freedom, between wilderness and promise, between wandering and destiny. It was obedience that set Abraham apart, obedience that lifted Joseph from a pit to a palace, obedience that brought down walls in Jericho. And now, it is obedience that has opened the door before you. Beloved, Your act of surrender was not merely symbolic. Heaven does not celebrate empty gestures. What you did was an alignment, your will meeting God's will, in a moment that became eternal. Obedience is the language of heaven. It speaks louder than songs. It weighs more than rituals. And it carries greater power than sacrifice. The ancient words recorded in Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 2, still echo today. And all these blessings shall come upon you and overtake you, if you obey the voice of the Lord your God. End of T. Do you hear it? Blessings do not follow disobedience. They chase after the obedient. Obedience does not simply invite blessing, it summons it. It compels it. It releases it. What was once delayed now has legal authority to find you because you obeyed. Heaven celebrates because obedience is what opens the floodgates of divine favor. You must see it clearly. Chosen one. For too long, you carried burdens, thinking that your tears or your pain alone would move heaven. But tears without obedience remain seeds without soil. Pain without surrender remains a wound without healing. It was your alignment, your obedience, that turned pain into power and tears into testimony. The doorway has been unlocked. What seemed impossible now stands within reach. Not because you fought harder than others, not because you carried more strength, but because you obeyed. God has always been more concerned with obedience than with performance. He does not require perfection, he requires surrender. And your surrender has opened what effort could not. Think of this. Doors that generations before you could not pass through are now swinging open because you chose to obey. Your obedience is not only about you, it is generational. It is prophetic. It has rippled backward to heal bloodlines and rippled forward to release blessing into future generations. Heaven's celebration is not a momentary applause. It is a recognition of what has shifted in eternity because of one earthly act. Beloved, obedience is costly. It demands that you lay down your pride, silence your fears, and release your grip on what you thought was control. That is why many avoid it. That is why the enemy worked so hard to keep you from it. Because he knows obedience is not only about you stepping forward, it is about heaven stepping in. And now that you have obeyed, there is a divine acceleration resting on you. You may have spent years in delay, wandering in circles, questioning whether breakthrough would ever come. But obedience has reset the clock. What was wasted is being restored. What was delayed is being fast-tracked. Heaven celebrates not only because you obeyed, but because obedience guarantees that your story does not end in stagnation. Understand this. Obedience is a bridge. It connects your present to your promise. It takes you out of wilderness and delivers you into destiny. Without it, you remain stuck in cycles. With it, you step into seasons. Your obedience has closed the door to old cycles of pain and opened the gates to new seasons of joy. And this is why your yes cannot be underestimated. It was not a quiet whisper lost in the noise of the world. It was a roar in the spirit. When you said yes, darkness lost its claim. When you said yes, curses broke. When you said yes, heaven rejoiced because it witnessed the earth agreeing with the divine. Chosen one. Obedience is the proof of love. You cannot claim to love God while rejecting his voice. But your obedience has proven that your love is not in word, only it is in action. And that action has eternal consequence. That action has triggered celebration in realms unseen. Heaven's joy is not sentimental. It is prophetic. It is heaven saying, "The door has opened. The way is clear. The chosen one has stepped in." Angels do not celebrate lightly. They rejoice when destiny is activated. And that is what your obedience has accomplished. So do not question whether it mattered. Do not look at your small beginning and wonder if heaven exaggerated. Obedience may look small on earth, but it is monumental in eternity. Every yes from a chosen one is a declaration of war against darkness, a proclamation of trust in God, a seed that blossoms into destiny. Beloved, you stand at the doorway. You unlocked. It is not empty. It is not silent. On the other side waits everything God promised. The door is open, and heaven is watching as you take your first steps. Walk boldly, for this is not the end of a battle. It is the beginning of a journey into blessing. Chosen one, do you know what happened in heaven the moment you obeyed? A sound was released, not just a faint whisper, not just a gentle sigh. It was a roar of celebration, a sound that shook eternity. Heaven erupted like a great symphony, angels lifting their voices in harmony, trumpets blasting, drums resounding, because one soul on earth aligned with the will of God. Beloved, think of it this way: when a long-awaited seed finally breaks the soil, creation does not remain silent. The earth trembles as roots push down and stems push up. That is what your obedience caused in the Spirit. It was like the sound of chains breaking underwater, like a prison door clanging open, like lightning splitting the sky. It was not quiet. It was thunderous. The prophet wrote in the scroll of Habakkuk, chapter 2, verse 14, "For the earth will be filled with the knowledge of the glory of the Lord as the waters cover the sea." Beloved, heaven celebrates, but the earth must hear it too. That is why you cannot keep this to yourself. Imagine a torchbearer in the darkest night. If they hide the flame, the world stumbles in shadow. But if they lift it high, others find their way home. In the same way, your obedience is not just for you, it is a light for others. And this is why I speak to you sincerely, with no manipulation, no pressure, only truth. Let this sound spread. Let the celebration of heaven echo on earth. Share the flame. Pass the torch. Allow others to hear this sound and know that obedience is possible, that breakthrough is real, that God still speaks and moves today. When you like, when you share, when you subscribe, you are not just pressing buttons on a screen, you are placing your voice in the choir of heaven. You are saying, "I add my agreement. I let this sound move through me too." And when you give, when you donate, you become the one who places fuel into the fire, ensuring the light never dims. Think of it as planting a seed in fertile ground. When you sow, you don't just give something away, you place something in the soil of eternity that multiplies beyond what you can imagine. A single seed grows into a tree, and that tree bears fruit for many. In the same way, your giving becomes nourishment for countless souls you may never meet. But heaven will show you one day. Beloved, have you ever seen ripples spread across water when a stone is dropped? That's what happens each time you choose to let the word of God flow through you into others. One ripple touches another, until the whole surface is in motion. This message is a stone in the waters of destiny, by sharing, supporting, and sowing. You make the ripples spread farther than you could ever throw alone. I tell you this not as a demand, but as an invitation. Heaven already celebrates you. But imagine how many more voices could join that song if others heard what you hear now. Some are waiting in silence, unaware that their breakthrough is one word away. You can be the bridge. You can be the hand that carries the sound from heaven into their ears. And yes, chosen one. When you donate, it is not about the size of the gift. It is about the heart of participation. Just as a candle lights another without losing its own flame, your giving does not diminish you. It multiplies light in places you may never go. In heaven's records, no act of generosity is forgotten. Every flame passed on is celebrated as though heaven itself grew brighter. So let your obedience ripple into action. Lift your voice with others who are part of this divine movement. Like this message, share it boldly. Subscribe to remain in the flow. And if God stirs your heart, give as a prophetic act. Not because you are forced, but because you know the sound of heaven's celebration deserves to echo on earth. Beloved, hear me. Your obedience was not the end. It was the beginning. The sound that shook heaven is now meant to shake the earth. And you are chosen not only to carry the sound, but to spread it. That is your calling, your joy, your inheritance. The angels are still singing. The sound has not faded. And now, through your action, it will reach ears that have been deaf to hope, eyes that have been blind to light, and hearts that have been closed to God. You are the echo. You are the vessel. You are the chosen one who turns heaven's celebration into earthly revival. Chosen one. Your obedience has not only released a sound in heaven, it has also opened a prophetic alignment in the earth. There are times when numbers become more than numbers. They become signs, markers, seals of covenant between God and His people. And right now, you are standing in a moment where heaven is asking you to mark your obedience with a prophetic act. Numbers in Scripture have always carried meaning. 3, for divine completion. 12, for government and authority. 40, for testing and transition. 70, for nations. These are not coincidences. They are codes written into creation. Fingerprints of God's order that remind us He governs not by accident, but by design. Beloved, your obedience has pulled you into a prophetic alignment, and there is a number waiting to be declared that seals what has been released over your life. This number is not superstition. It is not ritual. It is obedience, once more your agreement in the natural with what heaven has already established in the spirit. The ancient words of the Gospel of John, chapter 8, verse 36, still echo with power. So, if the Son sets you free, you will be free indeed. 2. Heaven celebrates because you finally obeyed. But now, heaven is inviting you to respond with boldness, not in silence, not in hidden places, but with a visible declaration. That is why I urge you now. Type this prophetic number in the comments, 888. Why 888? Because it is the number of new beginnings, the number that represents resurrection life, the number that echoes the eternal nature of Christ, who is the same yesterday, today, and forever. If 7 marks completion, 8 marks what comes after completion, the fresh start, the dawn after darkness, the sunrise after the long night, and when you triple it, you magnify it into abundance, into overflowing, into divine permanence. Beloved, by writing 888, you are not typing mere digits. You are declaring in faith, my life is not cycling in circles. I have stepped into a new beginning. You are stamping this truth in the spirit and echoing it in the natural. You are saying, the old has passed away. The new has come. I am not who I was. I am who God has chosen me to be. Consider this. When Israel crossed the Red Sea, they were no longer slaves, but a free nation. The chains of Egypt no longer held them. That crossing was their 888, their new beginning, their resurrection as a people chosen by God. When you write 888, you are spiritually stepping across your Red Sea, leaving behind the land of bondage and entering the territory of freedom. Your obedience has already opened the door, but 888 marks the moment you step through it. Do not underestimate the power of prophetic acts. Every time God asked his people to build an altar, to place a stone of remembrance, to mark a moment, it was not for his sake, it was for theirs. So they would never forget what he had done. And so it is for you, chosen one. When you type 888, you are building an altar in the digital space, a stone of remembrance that declares, this was the day heaven celebrated my obedience, and I sealed it with my faith. Years from now, you will look back and remember. Others will see it and be stirred. Heaven already knows, but your declaration marks it in history. Beloved, obedience is not a single act. It is a lifestyle, and each step of obedience leads you further into freedom, further into blessing, further into glory. 880. 8 is not the end. It is the beginning of the new path you are now walking. It is the trumpet blast that signals the old season is over. The new season has begun. So let this moment not pass quietly. Heaven has already erupted in celebration. Angels are still singing. The Father is still smiling. But now it is your turn to mark it. Type it boldly. Declare it fully. Let 888 stand as the seal of your freedom, your obedience, your destiny. Chosen one. The new beginning has arrived. You are not circling in old wilderness. You are stepping into promised land. You are not chained by old fears. You are walking in new faith. And every time you declare 888, you are reminding darkness that it has no claim on you, reminding yourself that you have crossed over, and reminding heaven that you stand in agreement with the celebration already resounding in eternity. So type it now. 888. Seal this moment. Declare your new beginning, and walk boldly into the destiny that obedience has opened for you. Chosen one. When you finally obeyed, something more than celebration happened in heaven. A mantle was placed upon you, not a garment stitched with human hands, not a robe woven by earthly threads, but a divine covering, a mantle of authority, anointing, and purpose. It was laid across your shoulders, marking you as one set apart, one appointed for an assignment greater than yourself. A mantle is never given without reason. In the scriptures, when Elijah's mantle fell upon Elisha, it was not simply cloth. It was a transfer of weight, of calling, of spiritual authority. When Joseph wore the robe of many colors, it was not just decoration, it was a symbol of favor and destiny. In the same way, chosen one, your obedience positioned you to receive what heaven had been holding for you all along, as was spoken in the sacred texts of old. 1 Samuel, chapter 16, verse 13. So Samuel took the horn of oil and anointed him in the presence of his brothers. And from that day on the Spirit of the Lord came powerfully upon David. And do not underestimate the weight you now carry. It is not the weight of burden, but of glory. It is not the heaviness of despair, but the gravity of purpose. Others may see you as ordinary, but heaven sees you clothed in garments unseen, carrying a mantle that shifts atmospheres when you walk into a room. Chosen one, you may not feel different at first. You may not sense the mantle every moment, but understand this: mantles are not about feelings. They are about authority. When you speak, words will now carry more weight. When you pray, prayers will pierce through resistance. When you act, obedience will ripple with eternal consequence. This is the nature of the mantle. It amplifies what God already placed within you. And know this: mantles are not meant to be hoarded, but poured out. Elisha carried Elijah's mantle and used it to part the waters, to perform miracles, to release prophetic fire. Your mantle is not just for your protection, it is for the liberation of others. The anointing upon you has been entrusted so you can lift others into freedom, break chains off captives, and release hope into hopeless places. This is why heaven celebrated so loudly, because a mantle withheld is power delayed. But a mantle received through obedience is a weapon released. Your yes unclasped the hands of heaven, and the mantle reserved for you was finally draped across your life. Beloved, understand too that mantles attract warfare. They are not ornaments, they are assignments. The moment you wear one, you become visible to darkness in ways you were not before. Do not be surprised if resistance rises. Do not be shaken if the enemy notices. He noticed David after his anointing. He noticed Jesus after his baptism. He notices you now. But the mantle itself is proof that the Spirit of the Lord rests upon you. And the Spirit of the Lord upon you is greater than any opposition around you. The mantle will not make you immune to battle, but it will make you victorious in it. You will carry wisdom that seems beyond your years. You will move with boldness that surprises even yourself. You will endure storms that would drown others. Why? Because the mantle has marked you as one who walks not alone, but overshadowed by divine authority. Chosen one. Remember this always: the mantle is not for display. It is for service. It is not for pride, but for humility. It is not to draw attention to yourself, but to point others toward the one who placed it on you. David's anointing did not make him boastful, it made him faithful. He returned to the fields and tended sheep with the same diligence as before, but with a new authority resting over his life. That is your call as well. You may not yet see the throne. You may still find yourself in ordinary places, doing ordinary things, but do not mistake the ordinary setting for an ordinary identity. You carry a mantle now. You carry an unseen robe that heaven has wrapped around you, and in time, that mantle will be revealed in ways that no one can deny. Beloved, heaven did not pause and celebrate because you finished everything. It celebrated because you finally obeyed, and obedience made you ready for what could not be given before. A mantle is never wasted, never misplaced. never random. It has your name written on it, waiting for the moment. You would be strong enough, humble enough, surrendered enough to wear it. And now, that moment has come. So walk with quiet strength. Carry your mantle with dignity. Let it shape your steps, fuel your prayers, and guide your choices. The mantle has been placed. The Spirit of the Lord rests upon you. And heaven celebrates not just because you received it, but because you will use it to set others free. Chosen one, do you realize what your obedience has done in the unseen? It has unsettled the very foundations of darkness. Where once your hesitation gave the enemy room to whisper lies, your obedience has silenced him. Where once shadows circled you, now they scatter. Obedience is not only a gift to heaven, it is a terror to hell. Your presence alone carries weight. Even before you speak, atmospheres shift. When you walk into a room, what you carry confronts what is hidden. This is why many misunderstood you. This is why you often felt out of place. Darkness recognized your light long before you fully understood it yourself. The voice of God thundered in the book of Exodus, chapter 14, verse 14. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. And now, beloved, obedience amplifies your light. Before, you carried it, but hesitated to release it. Now, it bursts forth, unhindered. This light does not only expose lies, it dismantles them. It does not only shine on you, it spreads around you, forcing shadows to retreat. And it is not because you strive to shine. It is because God Himself has lit your lamp, and no hand of darkness can extinguish it. Think of this. In nature, predators are unsettled by fire. A single torch is enough to keep beasts at bay. Your obedience has made you that torch. Wherever you step, the territory shifts. Demons scatter. Lies unravel. Generational strongholds tremble. Because you did not just obey in silence, you obeyed in faith. And faith sets flames to anything darkness tries to build. Chosen one. This is why the enemy tried so hard to convince you were powerless. He feared the day you would recognize what obedience had unlocked. He knew the moment you stepped into alignment, your very presence would become a weapon, not because you fight loudly, but because you carry stillness that carries the presence of God. Remember the word, the Lord will fight for you. That stillness is terrifying to darkness because it reveals that the outcome is already decided. Do you wonder why some people distance themselves from you without explanation? Why certain doors slammed shut when you thought they should have opened? Often, it was not rejection, it was protection. Darkness, operating in others, could not endure the light you carried. God allowed them to leave. Not because you were unworthy, but because your presence was too costly for them to remain. Beloved, you must embrace this truth. You are not called to fit in, you are called to disrupt. You are not sent to blend in darkness, you are sent to scatter it. Obedience has sharpened you into a sword. Light has clothed you as armor. The Spirit within you has made your presence a threat to every power of evil. And yet, chosen one, this should not make you arrogant. It should make you humble, for it is not your strength that terrifies darkness, but the one who fights for you. It is not your wisdom that confounds the enemy, but the Spirit that whispers through you. It is not your willpower that breaks chains, but the authority of Christ flowing through your surrendered life. This is the paradox. The more you surrender, The stronger you become, the more you yield, the more darkness trembles. Obedience may feel like weakness to the world, but in heaven it is strength, and in hell it is terror. That is why your simple yes sent shockwaves into the unseen. Chosen one, see yourself rightly. You are not invisible. You are not powerless. Your presence is disruptive by design. You carry a light meant to terrify what once terrified you. You walk with a covering meant to scatter the shadows that once pressed against you. This is not a coincidence, it is divine strategy. Heaven needed someone willing to obey. And through your obedience, God has found a vessel. So now, carry yourself with quiet boldness. You do not need to announce who you are. Darkness already knows. You do not need to prove your strength. Your light is proof enough. You do not need to fear what lies ahead, for the Lord, who fights for you, has already gone before you. Beloved, obedience has shifted you into a new realm. You are no longer merely enduring attacks. You are carrying victory. You are no longer just surviving darkness. You are scattering it. And heaven celebrates, not only because you obeyed, but because your obedience has turned you into a living testimony that light always wins. Chosen one, the time has come to affirm what heaven already knows about you. For too long, doubt has whispered louder than truth. For too long, you've wondered if your voice mattered, if your prayers reached heaven, if your obedience was really noticed. But heaven saw, and heaven has declared, now you must echo it back. Beloved, there is something powerful about agreement. When you align your words with what God has already spoken, you give your spirit the strength to stand, and you silence the accusations of darkness. What you confess with your mouth becomes a weapon, sharper than any blade, cutting through lies, fear, and shame. The apostle reminds us in his letter to the Corinthians, 2 Corinthians, chapter 4, verse 13. It is written, I believed, therefore I have spoken. And we have that same spirit of faith. Beloved, your life has been marked by unseen battles, heavy nights, and misunderstood seasons. Yet through it all, obedience has brought you into alignment. Now, it is not enough to simply believe silently. You must speak. You must write. You must declare. This is why I ask you now to make a prophetic statement, short but powerful. Right here, right now. I call you to type these words in the comments. I am chosen. Why this phrase? Because it is the core of your identity. It is the very truth hell has tried hardest to make you forget. When storms raged, the lie whispered that you were abandoned. When rejection cut deep, the lie said you were unwanted. When delays lingered, the lie said you were forgotten. But heaven has always declared, you are chosen. By typing, I am chosen, you are not merely repeating words. You are shattering lies. You are testifying that your existence is not random. Your destiny is not accidental. And your obedience is not wasted. You are speaking what has been written in eternity, that you belong to God, that you were set apart, that you are His beloved. Think of the Israelites in the wilderness. Again and again. Their greatest struggle was not external enemies, it was forgetting who they were. They doubted their identity, questioned their worth, and feared they were abandoned. But every time God reminded them, you are my people, that same truth is spoken over you now. Chosen one. When you comment, "I am chosen," you are stepping into agreement with heaven. You are lifting your voice above the noise of every past wound. You are saying to your own soul, "I believe this." You are saying to the enemy, "I reject the lie." You are saying to heaven, "I agree with what you have declared." End of free. Beloved, never underestimate the power of simple declarations. In Scripture, a few words parted seas, moved mountains, cast out demons, healed the sick. Words of faith carry weight because they are infused with the Spirit of God. And today, your words, though simple, carry the same eternal weight. You may think, but will it really matter if I type these 3 words? Yes, because it is not about the platform. It is about your faith. It is not about who reads it, but about who hears it in the spirit realm. Demons will hear it. Angels will hear it. And your own soul will hear it. Beloved, let me remind you of this. Every time you declare truth, you are building altars in your heart. You are writing memorial stones that your future self will look back on. Just as Joshua commanded Israel to set up stones after crossing the Jordan so they would never forget, your words become stones of remembrance. They testify that you knew who you were, and you stood firm in it. So let your declaration be more than ink on a page or words on a screen. Let it be a banner raised over your life. Let "I am chosen" become the anthem you carry into every battle, the whisper you hold in every storm, the proclamation you declare in every valley. Beloved, you are chosen not because of perfection, but because of purpose. You are chosen not because of your flawless record, but because of His flawless love. You are chosen not because the world approved you, but because heaven appointed you. And nothing, no rejection, nor failure, no delay can strip that identity from you. So, chosen one, take your stand. Comment it boldly. "I am chosen." Say it with conviction. Declare it as truth. And let heaven see you align your words with what has always been written about you. Heaven is still singing. Angels are still rejoicing. The Father is still smiling. And your voice, your words, complete the chorus. Chosen one, you have stepped out of delay and into divine speed. What once seemed impossible, what once felt stuck in endless waiting, is now moving with a pace you could not have imagined. Your obedience has broken the chains of hesitation, and heaven has set you on a path where time bends to the will of God. Delay was never your destination. It was a season of shaping, like an arrow held back in the bow. Your life was being stretched, pulled, and prepared to the world. It looked as though you were motionless. To you, it felt as though nothing was changing, but heaven knew you were being positioned for launch. And now, with one act of obedience, the release has come. We are reminded through the writings of David in the Psalms, chapter 31, verse 15, "My times are in your hands. Deliver me from the hands of my enemy pursuing me." Your times, beloved, were never wasted. They were always in His hands. Every delay was not a denial, but a preparation. Every detour was not rejection, but redirection. Now that obedience has aligned you with heaven's rhythm, you will find that what took years before will take moments now. Doors once locked will swing wide. Paths once hidden will suddenly appear beneath your feet. Beloved, imagine a river held back by a dam. The waters gather, waiting, building, pressing against the barrier. At times it seems the river is stagnant, but the moment the gates are lifted, the waters roar forward with unstoppable force. That is your life right now. Your yes was the lifting of the gates. What felt delayed has become a flood of divine acceleration. And yet, acceleration is not just for you. Rivers do not carry water for themselves. They carry it for the land, the crops, the thirsty. Your obedience has not only unlocked your blessing, but it has created flow for others. There are people, perhaps even generations, who will drink from the waters released through you. This is why I speak to you with humility and sincerity. Let this river flow beyond you. The sound you carry, the message you've heard, the breakthrough you've experienced, it is not meant to stay locked inside your heart. Just as a river nourishes whatever it touches, your story of obedience is meant to nourish others. When you like, when you share, when you subscribe, you are not engaging in empty gestures. You are digging channels for the river to flow further. Each click is like carving out a new stream, ensuring the waters of this message reach dry ground that has been waiting. And when you give, when you donate, you are adding stones to build bridges over the river, bridges that allow others to cross into the freedom you have found. Think of a lantern glowing in the night. Its flame is small, but if placed on a hill, it can guide travelers for miles. Your engagement, your support, is like lifting that lantern higher so more wandering souls can see the way home. You are not just a listener, you are a carrier of light, one who helps lift it where it can be seen by those still in darkness. Beloved, generosity is never wasted. Imagine a farmer who plants seed into the ground. He cannot see the harvest yet, but he knows that one seed will multiply into many. In the same way, your gift is not lost, it is planted. It becomes fruit that feeds others, fruit that spreads beyond what you could imagine. And in the records of heaven, every seed sown is remembered. Every gift is multiplied. Every act of faith is celebrated. Do not think of it as giving away. Think of it as joining the symphony, as adding your note to the song heaven is already singing. Every like, every share, every gift is an instrument, blending into a harmony that shakes the earth with the sound of obedience. Chosen one, the season of waiting has passed. The dam has broken. The river is rushing, and divine speed is carrying you forward. Do not hold back what heaven has entrusted to you. Lift your lantern high. Plant your seeds generously. Let your river flow freely. In doing so, you not only honor the God who accelerated you, you invite others into the same acceleration. Remember this truth: obedience opened the door, but generosity keeps it open for others. Your willingness to let the river flow beyond you ensures that the celebration in heaven multiplies across the earth. So walk boldly in this new pace. Trust the acceleration, and let your life, your voice, your actions, and your generosity echo the sound of heaven's celebration. Chosen one, when obedience opens doors, it does more than shift seasons. It unveils mysteries. What was sealed? What was hidden? What was waiting in heaven's archives is now being revealed to you. Scrolls are opening. Assignments are being unrolled. And divine instructions are being handed down. This is not imagination. It is spiritual reality. Your obedience has positioned you to see what others cannot. Throughout Scripture, scrolls often represented hidden knowledge, divine decrees, or heavenly assignments. Ezekiel was given a scroll to eat, and it filled his mouth with sweetness, even as it carried the weight of judgment. John, on the island of Patmos, saw a scroll in the right hand of the one seated on the throne, sealed with 7 seals, waiting to be opened. Each scroll represented a new unveiling, a fresh dimension of God's plan being revealed to humanity. Chosen one, your obedience has caused a scroll with your name to be opened. It is not a scroll of condemnation, but of commissioning. It carries new instructions, new assignments, new clarity for the path ahead. Heaven has always known what was written, but you were not ready to carry it until now. Your surrender has unlocked access. The ancient words recorded in Revelation chapter 5, verse 5, still resound with power. Do not weep. See, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the Root of David, has triumphed. He is able to open the scroll and its 7 seals. Beloved, do you see? It is not by your strength that the scrolls open. It is by his victory. The Lion of Judah has triumphed. And because he has triumphed, you are given access. What was sealed by heaven's authority can only be unsealed by heaven's authority. And now, because of your obedience, you are being invited into deeper revelation, into mysteries that were hidden until the time was right. Do not be surprised if dreams begin to carry sharper clarity. Do not be startled if visions awaken you at night. Do not dismiss the sudden whispers of instruction, the impressions on your spirit that seem too specific to ignore. These are glimpses of the scroll being unrolled in your life. What was once blurry is becoming sharp. What was once distant is now near. Chosen one. This is not given for curiosity's sake. The scrolls of heaven are not entertainment, they are assignments. They reveal purpose, strategy, direction. They call you higher, stretch you further, and require even greater surrender. To receive what is written, you must continue walking in the humility and obedience that opened the scroll in the first place. There is a weight that comes with revelation. To know is to be responsible. To see is to be accountable. Heaven does not reveal lightly, and so you must carry what is given with reverence. This is why your wilderness was necessary, why your tears were recorded, why your valleys were endured, so that when the scrolls were opened, you would be ready not only to receive, but to steward them faithfully. Beloved, consider this. When Moses ascended Mount Sinai, he received not only commandments, but instructions for building the dwelling place of God among his people. When Isaiah saw the Lord high and lifted up, he also received the call, "Whom shall I send?" When John saw the scrolls opened, he was entrusted to write what he saw so that the churches might endure. Revelation always comes with responsibility. And now, you stand in that same line. What heaven is revealing to you is not for idle knowledge. It is for impact. The scrolls unsealed in your life are meant to equip you, to position you, and to empower you to walk in the fullness of your calling. Chosen one, do not shrink back. It may feel overwhelming. It may feel too great for you to carry. But remember, the scrolls were not opened by your effort. They were opened by the victory of the Lion of Judah. And the same Lion who opened them will empower you to walk in them. There is a sweetness to this moment, but also a seriousness. Heaven has entrusted you with hidden things. That trust is itself a celebration, a sign that you have been found faithful, that your obedience has proven you ready. Do not despise this trust. Cherish it. Guard it. Walk humbly with it. The scrolls reveal not only what is coming, but who you are. They carry the record of your destiny, the assignment heaven wrote long before you were born. To see them is to glimpse your true reflection, not the reflection distorted by fear, rejection, or delay, but the reflection written by God's own hand. So, beloved, embrace the unveiling. Read carefully the whispers of heaven. Carry with honor the weight of what is revealed. The scrolls have been unsealed, and you stand as one chosen to walk in mysteries that others have only dreamed of. Heaven has celebrated your obedience, and now heaven entrusts you with revelation. Chosen one, the celebration of heaven over your obedience has not ceased. It continues like a river that never runs dry, like a song that never fades. Even now, the echo of angelic voices resounds, because one obedient life carries ripples far beyond what the natural eye can see. Heaven is still celebrating, and that celebration is drawing you deeper into alignment. Beloved, you may think, but wasn't my yes enough? Isn't obedience already complete? Hear me, obedience is never a single step. It is a journey. Each act of surrender leads to another. Each alignment opens doors to greater alignment. What you began has initiated a chain reaction, and the prophetic celebration is still unfolding. Consider this: when Israel crossed the Red Sea, they did not stop walking. The waters parted, but the journey stretched into the wilderness, then into the promise. Likewise, your first step of obedience has created momentum, and heaven's celebration is an encouragement for you not to stop, not to hesitate, but to keep walking forward into all God has prepared. Your obedience is like a spark that lights a chain of torches across a mountain range. One small flame becomes countless fires that spread into valleys and cities. What you began with trembling hands is now multiplying beyond your sight, touching lives that you may never personally encounter. Obedience is also a bridge across turbulent waters. While others fear the storm, your surrender builds planks one by one until a safe path stretches forward. Those behind you, watching from the shore, will one day walk on the very bridge your faith constructed, crossing into freedom because you obeyed. Think of a seed hidden in the earth. For a long time, it seems buried, unseen, forgotten. But suddenly, it pushes upward, breaking the surface, announcing life. Your obedience is that seed, silent for a season, but now bursting forth, declaring growth, fruit, and new beginnings ordained by heaven. Scripture says in the Gospel of John, chapter 14, verse 27, "Peace I leave with you, my peace I give you. I do not give to you as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled, and do not be afraid." Lend, do you feel it? Chosen one, this celebration is not only noise, it is peace. A peace that steadies you when fear whispers. A peace that wraps around you when uncertainty rises. A peace that assures you heaven's applause is not temporary. It is a reflection of God's eternal commitment to you. Beloved, this is why heaven still sings, because your obedience has marked a covenant. It is a seal, an anchor, a testimony that you belong to Him. And now, as heaven rejoices, you are invited to join the celebration with a prophetic act that seals what has been released over you. Right now, type this prophetic number in the comments: 444. Why 444? Because it is the number of stability, foundation, and divine order. Just as four corners hold a house, just as four winds move across the earth, just as four rivers flowed from Eden, so too does this number represent completeness and balance in creation. By declaring 444, you are saying, I stand firm in the foundation God has built. My obedience is not fleeting, it is rooted, stable, and enduring. Oh, when you write 444, you are not typing digits, you are stamping your foundation in the Spirit. You are declaring, my obedience will not collapse. My surrender will not be shaken. I am built upon the rock, and nothing can move me. Oh, beloved, do not underestimate the power of this prophetic act. For every time Israel built an altar, every time they raised a stone of remembrance, they were not creating monuments for themselves, they were leaving markers for generations. In the same way, 444 is not only your seal, it becomes a beacon for others who read it. A testimony that obedience builds unshakable lives. And as you declare 444, you are echoing heaven's celebration. Angels see it. Demons fear it. And your soul strengthens by it. You are saying, the foundation has been laid. I will not be moved. Chosen one. Heaven's song continues because your story has not ended. The peace of God is upon you. The foundation of obedience is beneath you, and the celebration of angels surrounds you. Do not hold this truth lightly. Mark it, declare it, seal it, for this is the testimony of the chosen. Obedience builds what storms cannot destroy. So let 444 be your prophetic banner today. Heaven has celebrated you, and now you respond with faith, with declaration, with boldness. The celebration continues, and you are part of its sound. Chosen one. When heaven celebrated your obedience, it was not just because you entered into blessing, it was because something greater was released through you. A war cry was birthed, a sound in the Spirit that now flows from your own voice. You may not realize it yet, but your words carry a new authority. They are no longer simply expressions of thought. They are declarations that shake the unseen. Throughout history, God has raised voices that carried more weight than armies. Moses stood before Pharaoh with nothing but words. Yet those words released plagues, parted seas, and broke chains of slavery. Deborah lifted her voice, and an entire nation rose in courage. Paul preached in prison, and chains fell not only from his own wrists, but from those around him. Beloved, you are in that same lineage. Obedience has placed a war cry in your mouth. The Word of God declares in the book of Jeremiah, chapter 1, verse 10, See, today I appoint you over nations and kingdoms to uproot and tear down, to destroy and overthrow, to build and to plant. None. This is not poetic language, it is divine reality. Through your voice, God uproots lees, tears down strongholds, and builds new foundations. Your prayers are no longer whispers into silence, they are arrows that strike their mark. Your declarations are not empty sounds, they are hammer blows against walls of resistance. That is why heaven celebrated, because your obedience positioned your voice as a weapon in God's hand. Beloved, this war cry does not come from rage or human strength. It rises from surrender. It flows from a heart that has said yes to God, even in the valley, even in the shadows. That yes has amplified your voice, making it resound louder in the spirit than you could ever imagine in the natural. Understand this: the enemy feared your silence, but he fears your voice even more. When you remained quiet, he hoped despair would consume you. But when you opened your mouth in obedience, your sound became a declaration of freedom. It is not just about what you say, it is about who backs your words. Heaven's armies move when you pray. Angels respond when you declare truth. Darkness trembles when you release your war cry. Think of it this way: a trumpet by itself is just brass. But when a skilled player breathes into it, the sound can summon armies, direct movements, even signal victory. Your life is that trumpet. The Spirit of God is the breath flowing through you, and your voice is the sound produced. Alone, you are fragile, but filled with Him, you release the sound of heaven's war cry. Beloved, you may think your voice is small, but do not measure it by earthly ears. In the unseen, your words travel farther than sound waves. They cut through atmospheres, reaching places your feet may never walk. When you pray over your family, the sound echoes into generations. When you declare truth over your city, angels mark territory. When you speak life over yourself, you break patterns of death that sought to remain. This is why you must guard your tongue. A war cry cannot be diluted by doubt or fear. Let your mouth become a fountain of life, not poison. Let your words carry faith, not despair. Let your declarations agree with heaven, not with the lies of darkness. For your obedience has already crowned your voice with authority. Now you must use it wisely. Chosen one, do not be afraid of the weight this carries. Authority is not meant to crush you, but to empower you. Just as a soldier trains with his weapon, you are now being trained with your words. Each declaration is practice. Each prayer is sharpening. Each act of speaking faith is strengthening the war cry that has been birthed through you. And remember, a war cry is not only about battle, it is also about victory. In ancient times, armies would shout even before the fight began, not because they had already won in the natural, but because they believed the outcome was secured. Your war cry is the same. You are not shouting to convince yourself, you are declaring because the victory has already been written in heaven. Beloved, take courage. Your obedience did more than shift your story. It released a sound for others. Those still in chains will hear it. Those still wandering will feel its pull. Those still asleep will be awakened by it. Your war cry is not for you alone. It is for generations, for nations, for the kingdom. So speak boldly, pray faithfully, declare truth consistently. Heaven celebrated because the earth has gained a new voice that carries divine weight. And that voice is yours. Chosen one. There is a crown set aside for the faithful, and it has been placed upon your head. Not a crown of gold fashioned by human hands, nor a wreath of fading leaves that time will wither, but a crown of eternal glory that heaven bestows on those who endure. This crown is not ornamental, it is evidence. evidence that your obedience has been recognized, sealed, and rewarded. Crowns in Scripture always signify more than status. They symbolize victory, perseverance, and identity. When Paul spoke of a crown of righteousness laid up for those who loved his appearing, he was speaking of reward for endurance. When John in Revelation saw the 24 elders casting their crowns before the throne, he was witnessing surrendered glory. A crown, then, is not merely worn, it is carried as testimony of faithfulness. Beloved, your obedience has placed such a crown upon you, and though it may not yet be visible in the eyes of men, in heaven it shines with brilliance. It is not crafted from jewels of earth, but from moments of surrender, tears of endurance, and the fire of trials overcome. Each step you took in faith added to its beauty. Each prayer you whispered in darkness polished its surface. Each yes you gave to God shaped it perfectly to your head. As the Apostle Paul wrote in the second letter to Timothy, chapter 4, verse 8, "Now there is in store for me the crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, will award to me on that day, and not only to me, but also to all who have longed for his appearing." Chosen one. Understand this. A crown is both reward and responsibility. It proclaims victory, but it also carries weight. It testifies to the world that you have been entrusted with more. A crowned one is not free to live casually. A crown calls you to live with dignity, to walk with honor, to remember that your life is no longer ordinary. You may feel unworthy of such a gift, but remember this: the crown is not earned by perfection. It is granted by faithfulness. You were not crowned because you never stumbled. You were crowned because you refused to stay down. You were not crowned because you carried no scars. You were crowned because you carried them with endurance. You were not crowned because you had no doubts. You were crowned because even in doubt, you obeyed. Beloved, this crown also declares ownership. Just as soldiers of old bore crests upon their helmets, marking the king they served, your crown bears the seal of heaven. It declares to all realms, earth, heaven, and hell, that you belong to the King of Kings. It is a visible testimony in the Spirit that you are marked, chosen, and unshakable. But hear this: crowns are not to be hidden. They are not given to be concealed beneath fear or shame. They are meant to be carried boldly, not for self-glory, but as a witness to the one who gave it, like the elders in Revelation who laid down their crowns. You too must understand that the crown you wear is ultimately for his glory. It magnifies his faithfulness even more than yours. Chosen one. There will be moments when you forget it is there, when you feel ordinary, unnoticed, or even small. Remember, heaven does not celebrate what fades, it celebrates what is eternal. Your crown does not tarnish in hardship. It does not disappear in trials. It remains as long as your obedience stands, and it grows brighter as your faith deepens. Consider this: a crown placed upon a king or queen immediately shifts how others see them. The same individual, now marked by authority, is treated differently. That is what your crown has done in the Spirit. Darkness no longer approaches you casually. It trembles at the authority on your life. Angels no longer walk beside you as bystanders. They attend you as one carrying royal mandate. This is why heaven's celebration was so loud. It was not simply rejoicing in your obedience, but rejoicing in the coronation it released. You are not the same as before. You are crowned. You are sealed. You are recognized. And though the earth may not yet know your full measure, heaven already proclaims it with clarity. Beloved, walk as one crowned. Let the dignity of your calling steady your steps. Let the honor of your crown remind you that every battle you fought was not in vain. The scars you bear are not marks of defeat, but jewels embedded in the crown of faithfulness. The crown of the faithful rests upon you. Carry it with humility. Wear it with reverence. And let it remind you daily, you are chosen. You are victorious. And you are crowned in the courts of heaven. Chosen one. Never underestimate the impact of a single yes. What seems like a personal decision in the quiet of your heart echoes across generations and reverberates through nations. Your obedience is not just about you, it is about the countless lives touched, the chains broken, and the paths cleared because you surrendered. Imagine a stone dropped into still waters. The ripples stretch outward, far beyond the place where the stone touched. That is your yes. It began with you, but it does not end with you. It travels outward, affecting people you may never meet, impacting places your feet might never stand, stirring hearts that will one day thank you in eternity. Your yes is like a hidden root beneath the soil. Though unseen, it anchors the tree, giving strength to withstand storms and nourishment to bear fruit. Generations will eat from the branches you nurtured with your surrender. What feels small today will grow into a legacy that shelters many under its shade. As the Apostle wrote in Romans, chapter 5, verse 19, "For just as through one man's disobedience the many were made sinners, so also through one man's obedience. If disobedience carries consequences for many, then obedience carries blessings for multitudes." Your obedience is not a small flame, it is a wildfire. It spreads. It consumes. It ignites. This is why heaven's celebration was so fierce, because your yes is a spark that lights revival. Beloved, think of a lighthouse standing on a rocky shore. Its light does not exist for itself. It shines to warn ships, to guide travelers, to save lives from crashing in the dark. Your obedience is that lighthouse. It steadies those who are wandering. It prevents destruction for those who cannot yet see. It is a light that will outlast you, guiding generations long after your voice grows silent. This is why I must speak to you sincerely. Let this light spread further. Let the story of your yes not be hidden, but carried. When you like this message, when you share it, when you subscribe, you are lifting the lighthouse higher, ensuring its beam reaches further into seas of darkness. You are not promoting a voice, you are extending the light of obedience. And when you give, when you donate, you are placing oil in the lamp, fuel in the fire, ensuring the light does not dim, just as ancient keepers of the lighthouse stayed awake through the night to keep the flame burning. Your generosity ensures this flame continues, shining for those who still sail in stormy waters. Beloved, generosity is not about amount, it is about agreement. It says, "I believe this light must continue. I will not let the flame die." And heaven sees every gift, every act of support, as another ripple in the waters, another stone added to the bridge of obedience. Nothing is wasted. Every seed multiplies. Every gift fuels eternal work. But hear this, you are not just a receiver of light, you are a multiplier of it. Your comment, your testimony, your words become ripples themselves. That is why I ask you, with all sincerity, to add your voice in the comments. Write your declaration of faith. Share what obedience has meant to you, for your words may be the very testimony someone else needs to hear in their darkest night. Think of this: a single candle passed from one hand to another does not diminish it, multiplies. The flame that burns in you, when shared, does not grow weaker. It grows brighter, until what began as a single yes becomes a blazing multitude of lights across the earth. That is how nations are changed, not through grand speeches or monuments, but through ordinary people like you, chosen ones, saying yes and sharing their flame. Beloved, you are part of something far greater than yourself. Heaven is not celebrating only because you obeyed. It is celebrating because your obedience has started a chain reaction. And that reaction will continue as others hear your story, see your light, and join their voices with yours. So let your light not remain hidden. Share it boldly. Support it faithfully. Keep fueling it generously. For your obedience is not a whisper lost in time. It is a roar heard across eternity. Chosen one, stand firm in this truth. One yes has become many. One flame has become a fire. One ripple has become a wave. And heaven is not finished celebrating, because the impact of your obedience is only beginning to unfold. Chosen one, when a new path opens, it does not mean the end of battles. In fact, new ground often draws new warfare. Every fresh step forward awakens resistance, for the enemy does not surrender territory quietly. But hear this truth: the path you walk now is not one of despair but of destiny. Though the battles may come, you are equipped to endure and overcome. Beloved, think of Israel entering the promised land. The wilderness had ended, but the warfare had not. Giants still stood in the land. Fortified cities still loomed. Enemies still gathered. Yet the difference was this: God was with them, and the promise had already been given. Victory was assured, even if battles had to be fought. So it is with you. Your obedience has brought you into a new season, but this season will stretch you, test you, and strengthen you in ways the last could not. The ancient words recorded in Ephesians chapter 6, verse 13, remind us, therefore put on the full armor of God, so that when the day of evil comes, you may stand. Your mantle, your crown, your obedience, they are not decorations. They are weapons. And the light you carry now is not only illumination but fire. Darkness trembles at your presence, yet it also plots to test your endurance. Do not be naive to think the enemy will retreat forever. He circles, he waits, he prowls, but you are not defenseless. You are armed with truth, with righteousness, with faith, with salvation, with the word that cuts sharper than any sword. Beloved, new warfare is not punishment, it is promotion. You are trusted with more, and therefore, you are trusted to fight more. Heaven would not crown you if you could not carry the weight. Heaven would not release scrolls to you if you could not protect them. Heaven would not mantle you if you were not able to wield it with authority. Every battle you face now is proof of what you carry, not a contradiction of it. Do not shrink back when storms rise. Ships were not built for harbors, they were built for the seas. And though the seas are wild, the ship carries an anchor and sails built to endure the winds. You are that vessel. God Himself has crafted you for waters deeper than before. The waves may grow higher, but your design is stronger. Chosen one. New warfare will also reveal new aspects of who God is. In the valley, you met Him as comforter. In delay, you knew Him as teacher. In storms, you found Him as shelter. But now, in new battles, you will encounter Him as captain, as defender, as the Lord of hosts who commands heaven's armies. Each new war unveils a new dimension of His strength and His faithfulness. Remember also, warfare is never fought alone. Though you walk this path with courage, heaven surrounds you. Angels march beside you. The Spirit within you intercedes when your own words falter, even when battles feel lonely. You are never abandoned. The very armor you wear is proof that God has equipped you, piece by piece, to endure until the end. Beloved, do not confuse warfare with failure. The presence of resistance does not mean you took the wrong path. It means you are walking the right one. If the road were empty, it would lead nowhere. But because it is contested, you know it carries promise. The enemy does not fight what he does not fear, and he fears what you now carry. So stand firm. Chosen one, do not panic when arrows fly. Do not falter when shadows loom. Remember the word, after you have done everything, stand. Your standing itself is victory. Your refusal to retreat is triumph. Every time you remain unshaken, the enemy's grip weakens, and heaven's celebration grows louder. The new path is not easy, but it is holy. The battles may be fierce, but they are meaningful. And though the warfare may intensify, the outcome has already been secured by the one who walks before you. Chosen one, carry this truth. The same God who placed a crown upon your head, the same God who draped the mantle across your shoulders, the same God who unsealed scrolls for your eyes. He has not abandoned you to fight alone. He keeps, He strengthens, He surrounds, and He leads. The path is new. The warfare is real, but the victory is already written. Chosen one, the sound of heaven's celebration has not faded. It continues still, like a choir without end, like waves that keep rolling upon the shore. Every step you take now resounds in eternity, for you have moved from hesitation into obedience, from delay into alignment, from wandering into purpose. And heaven rejoices not just for a moment, but for a lifetime. Beloved, consider this. When a prodigal returns, the Father does not throw a quiet dinner. He commands music, feasting, laughter. He adorns His Son with robe and ring, because joy cannot remain silent when destiny is restored. Your obedience was that return, that homecoming, that embrace. And now, heaven's celebration is not a fleeting applause, it is a standing ovation that continues as long as you walk in alignment. The ancient words recorded in Zephaniah, chapter 3, verse 17. Speak with living power, the Lord your God is with you, the mighty warrior who saves. He will take great delight in you. In His love, He will no longer rebuke you, but will rejoice over you with singing. I'm beloved. Do not mistake this joy for sentimentality. Heaven's celebration is prophetic. Every cheer, every trumpet blast, Every note of angelic song is a declaration of what lies ahead. It is heaven saying, "The chosen one has entered destiny. The path is secure. The story is unfolding. The joy is not fragile, it is unshakable, because it flows from a victory already won." Chosen one, you may still face trials. The road will not suddenly empty of challenges. Yet even in the midst of storms, heaven sings. Even when shadows stretch long, heaven celebrates. The joy is not because you will never stumble again, it is because you belong. You are sealed. You are crowned. And nothing can reverse what obedience has unlocked. Imagine a banquet stretching as far as the eye can see. Tables lined with endless cups. Plates overflowing with abundance. Guests laugh. Music rises. Joy fills the air. That banquet is heaven's celebration over your yes. It is not rationed or half-hearted. It is lavish, overflowing, extravagant. Your obedience triggered this feast. And the feast does not end. Beloved, the joy of heaven is contagious. It spills over into the earth, manifesting in peace, in strength, in clarity. Have you noticed how your heart feels lighter since you obeyed? That is not coincidence. It is the echo of heaven's laughter touching your spirit. Have you felt the sudden courage to face what once frightened you? That is heaven's anthem strengthening your bones. Have you sensed clarity where once there was confusion? That is the song of God aligning your mind with His truth. And yet, this celebration is not only for you, it is through you. Heaven rejoices over you, so that others may encounter the joy through your life. You become the echo of the anthem, the reflection of the feast, the living proof that obedience does not lead to emptiness, but to abundance. Your life itself becomes a song others can hear, a testimony others can taste, a light others can follow. Chosen one. Understand this. Heaven's celebration is eternal because your destiny is eternal. Crowns do not tarnish. Mantles do not fray. Scrolls do not fade. The voice of God does not weaken with time. Everything released in this season is anchored in eternity. That is why the celebration continues. That is why angels still sing. That is why God Himself rejoices with song. So, walk with confidence. Carry the sound of celebration within you. Let it remind you in nights of silence that you are never forgotten. Let it steady you in seasons of battle that you are never abandoned. Let it embolden you in moments of doubt that you are never disqualified. The celebration is proof you are chosen. You are loved. You are sealed. Beloved, heaven's celebration is the evidence of God's delight in you, not because you are flawless, but because you are faithful, not because you never fell, but because you rose again, not because you had no fear, but because you chose faith anyway. That is what obedience means. That is what heaven celebrates. Chosen one. Carry this anthem forward. Let every step be accompanied by the song of heaven. Let every breath remind you of the joys sung over you. And know this with unshakable certainty. Heaven's celebration is not fading, it is eternal. Chosen one. You have walked through the message, step by step. From the valleys of struggle to the mountaintop of celebration, you have seen how heaven pauses, how angels rejoice, how crowns are placed, and how scrolls are unsealed when a single heart dares to obey. This journey has not been about information, it has been about transformation. And now, as you reach the end, You stand marked, sealed, and strengthened. But let me remind you, this is not the end. It is the beginning of a new chapter. 1. Heaven has already written and is inviting you to live out fully. The battles you endured shaped you. The tears you shed watered your destiny, and your obedience opened the floodgates of blessing. Heaven still sings over you even now. Your testimony is too powerful to be kept silent. Just as light is never hidden under a basket, your story must shine where others can see. So let it shine. Like, share, and subscribe, not as routine gestures, but as acts of faith that carry this flame further. Your simple action may be the spark that awakens someone still asleep in darkness. And yes, when you donate, you are not giving away, you are planting into eternity. You are fueling the fire so the sound of heaven's celebration can reach further, touch more lives, and build altars in places your feet may never step. Heaven remembers every seed, and nothing given in faith is ever wasted. So, chosen one, comment your declaration below. Let the world see your banner of faith. Lift your voice, shine your light, and take your place in this divine movement. The celebration in heaven is ongoing, and now the earth must echo the same song through you.